Hi, I'm Devin from Careerified. Welcome back to my home office. It's October, and here in Ontario, in October, as the furnaces light up and the leaves fall down, one other thing is going on. Our colleges and universities here in the province are about to open up their application cycles for the 2021-2022 school year. That is a mouthful. So this October, what I'm going to do is a little bit of a mini series on particular elements you should be exploring or questions you should be asking as you dive into your options for post-secondary education. This week's tip is going to be looking at work integrated learning or experiential learning. So what is work integrated learning? It's an element of a program of study that allows you to bring your classroom experience into the workplace. So some of the common versions of this you've probably heard of are things like co-op, field placement, or internship. Let me break those down for you a little bit to give you a bit more of a definition. Co-op is something that happens term by term. So typically a co-op work term is sandwiched in between two academic terms. Very often, co-op takes place in the summer, but not always. And quite a few institutions now have gotten very creative about how they administer the co-op programs. Field placement is typically unpaid and it's integrated into your semester. So in a field placement, you might go out to your work placement for 1 day a week or 2 days a week, but the other 3 or 4 days you will be in class. And then internship is a bit longer. So most internships are paid. And they're usually around 12 to 16 months in length. So depending on your school or the workplace that you're looking into, you may do an internship perhaps after your second or third year and then return to school for more studies, or you may complete an internship after all your academic coursework is complete. Work integrated learning is a huge opportunity to try something out in a pretty low risk scenario. It'll give you a really good sense if you are in the right field for you, if you can see yourself continuing on and developing a career in that field. It also will probably help you narrow down where you want to go, particularly if you are in undergraduate university studies. Your program is probably quite broad. So getting a chance to get out into the workplace will help you figure out where you want to go within the field. So as you're connecting with universities and colleges this fall, this is an area you want to ask about. And there are a lot of things to find out because everybody does things a little bit differently. So you want to know generally how they administer the process and how it works, how you get in, how do you stay in if that's an issue. You also want to know things like, what are typical placements for students? What would you be doing? Is there something that's kind of assigned to you? Like, are you just sort of put into a particular placement based on where you are in the academic cycle? Or is this more like a job search process where you're going to need to create a resume and a cover letter and do a job interview and that whole bit? So everybody's a little bit different. Don't assume that when you hear about co-op from one school, that's how co-op will or work at another school. So now that I've sold you on what a co-op is, what an internship, what a field placement is, and make sure too that you're exploring things like job shadowing, service learning, applied research. There are a lot of other ways you can get into work integrated learning opportunities. It's a pretty big field. But what do you do if the program you want doesn't have it, just doesn't have that as an option? I was reading an article just last week that profiled, it was a formalized program, but I'm not sure it has to be, which I'll get into detail in a moment. But basically the idea was that students at the graduate level in the life sciences were given the opportunity to use case studies to take their academic learning and apply it to the real world. So they were basically told, okay, you are in charge of bringing a new drug to market in Canada. Go. And that's it. That's all the instructions they got. So they had to figure out, okay, what's the normal process for that? What are industry best practices? What do I need to know about marketing and advertising and sales? Do I need sponsors? Do I need to do government relations? How does all of this work? So they'd actually gone through the real world process of bringing a new drug to market as part of their studies, which is great. You might be very surprised if you have the opportunity to do something similar in terms of an independent study. Your school of interest may not have any kind of formalized program for doing this, but if this is something you'd like to try, ask about it. See if it's an option. Many schools actually offer an independent study credit that's something you might be able to take advantage of to help build up your portfolio and give you some of that real world experience that you're not going to get otherwise. You really, really don't know until you ask. You might be very surprised by what you find out. The old adage of you don't know until you try definitely applies to careers. So the task I'm assigning you this October and the first tip I'm bringing you this October is find out while you're researching if you have an opportunity to try before you graduate. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you back here next week for a new tip. You take good care.